What's up, y'all? Welcome to Hard to Guard TV on YouTube and Twitter. My name is Edgar Burgos. We've been in a hiatus for a little while, but for years, we had our own Instagram. We all had own podcast for years, and now we decided to bring it back with the return of the NBA season. And today, I got my man Cal Griffin, founder of All Things Hoops. And we're going to talk the return of the NBA. We're going to talk some street ball. We're going to talk some, just basketball. Cal, what's up?
What's going on, Ed, man? It's a pleasure, man. Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate you, and kind of been a student of the game for a while, man. I know you guys have been rocking and rolling for a long time before social media and all of these streaming services. So you guys been definitely doing your thing, man. So it's definitely a pleasure to be on here.
How's it feel that the return of the NBA season?
Oh man, you don't even know, man. With this whole COVID-19, the pandemic and the quarantine, it hasn't been easy for anybody. So, with that said, it's good to get some basketball back in our lives, and yeah, man. Even though there's fake fans in the stands, and they have a kind of a socially distant kind of court and whatnot. Everything is cool because we're back to action. So
that's cool. So what do you think about? I actually think the NBA did a great job yesterday. For me, the focus was on the game, even though mentally we knew the fans wasn't there, but it was great.
Right. No, absolutely, man. It was all focused. We're on the actual games being played, and we had two goodies last night. They both went down to the wire. You can't ask for anything more than that. You got the Utah Jazz pulling it out at the end there, and you got Lakers pulling it out versus the Clippers at the end with LeBron at a final seconds game winning basket. So
how ironic the first game.
Yeah,
the person that started the ending of the NBA 4 months ago wins the game yesterday, Rudy Gobert.
Oh yeah, how ironic is that, right? Yeah. When everybody was on him.
So let's talk about how did All Things Hoops start?
Well, actually, yesterday was my fourth year anniversary for All Things Hoops.
Mm-hmm.
It started again 4 years ago. I've always been. I'm originally from Harlem, New York City, and I've always been a basketball guy. So from playing myself, I've gone to different, prep school, played ball. Didn't play collegiately, but always had a love for the game. And so for a long time, I work in finance. So that work is a kind of tedious on the brain and whatnot. So with me coming back home from work every day, I'm kind of my wife saw me. She's like, listen, you need to do something more than just going to work and coming home. Find a hobby, do something. What do you like to do? And I was like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have an idea on what I wanted to do. But I did agree with her saying I did need to, do something, pick up a hobby or something. So, she mentioned to me, she said, yo, you watching these games, you're yelling at the TV. Yeah. You do know how to, you do write pretty well. Why don't you combine the two? And so right there, it kind of sparked a interest in me to try to write some articles and get my perspective on different things, in the basketball world, get it out to the people. I started and got a great response. So yeah, just kind of kept it going and kind of going, taking it as I go along, and it kind of grew out of control almost. But yeah, we're here 4 years later, and we're in a great position to move forward in the next 4 years.
So how did over the years, how has like your social media moved, and how have you created a base?
Well, right now we're standing at about, in terms of Instagram, being my primary social media platform, we're standing at about almost 8,000. No, I'm sorry, almost about 7,000 followers, and with the other platforms like Twitter and like LinkedIn for the more professional conversations and whatnot. Combined, I would say about it kind of goes to about 10,000, which is fairly good. Just starting out.
And
But
let's
I
talk
would
about this. You've been doing all things hoops on Instagram every single day.
right.
How's that going? And obviously, it started during quarantine. And let's talk about some of the great interviews that you've done since
Right.
quarantine started.
Oh well, with the pandemic, everyone was kind of jumping on lives and interviewing people. And originally that wasn't my speed. I was more so behind the scenes and just wanted to kind of crank out my articles and have people read those articles. Or, I did also take a liking to photography, sports photography to be exact. And it really didn't give me a chance to get out there and have a personality. Like, again, I was behind the scenes, just kind of cranking out the content. But with the pandemic, it gave everybody a chance to kind of get out there and be a journalist, if you will. And I gave it a shot, and I really kind of took a liking to asking questions and not only just the simple questions that everybody's going to ask, but I like to ask questions that are thought provoking and are going to incite some reaction from my subject, and just ask questions that the ordinary person is not going to ask, and get some information that the ordinary person is not going to ordinarily receive. So with that, again, I strive off of feedback, and got a great reception, got some great feedback from people that I've been able to establish that core foundation of followers or fans, if you will. So yeah, they've been giving me some great feedback, and I just kind of been taking it from there, and trying to get bigger and better. So we started out. I pride myself into all things hoops being all encompassing platform, from street ball, from high school basketball, college basketball, as well as NBA basketball. And this is just me by myself, kind of trying to do it, as I go along. But we started out doing the Future, who Malloy Naismith of streetball fame. We've done Kareem Reed, who is a staple in the New York City basketball world in terms of being a streetball legend, and has done some great things, at the collegiate level as well as the pro level. Who else have I done? And again, it's not just basketball players. I like to do stuff that ordinary people aren't going to be kind of expecting. So I like to interview. I interviewed Scoop B of Scoop B Radio, Robinson. Who else did I do? Scoop Jardine of formerly of Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that I've kind of interviewed, and again, I like to capture get the people that people weren't thinking about.
That's one of the guys is a good segue. Like, one of the guys who I look up to, and I consider a great friend of mine, Eric Newman. Well, I'm about to jump in on the call.
Right.
So, hold on one sec. E.
Three-man weave. What's up, fellas?
Eric, how you doing, Eric?
Eric,
Good. How you doing?
You got Cal Griffin for all things hoop. You got Eric Newman from founder of Pure Hoops Media and producer extraordinaire for All the Smoke podcasts. Welcome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Good to see you guys. How's everybody doing?
Good. So we were
Doing
just
great.
talking about Cal was just talking about his journey. I don't know if you heard it with all things hoops, and Eric Newman's actually been in the street ball basketball community for a very long time. So you guys definitely you know how this basketball world is. It's a closed circle. So E, can you just talk about how long you've been involved in the whole street ball NBA world?
Oh man, listening to you guys, you had me. I'm staring out the window of my apartment so I can get some decent light. Edgar, we'll go over your lighting package after this. But it's unbelievable the journey that I've taken through ball, and after getting into the New York circles, like where it all went. So, man, it started with me doing camps back in the summer of 2003 at the old Basketball City is how I got started doing basketball camps, and became a teacher to pay the bills, had some coaching experience, always loved media, film, TV, and production. But that's right around the time when technology started to change, and several years before I met Edgar. But, that got me in the door to just build with people because of basketball. And on the side, got a MacBook Pro and started doing digital stuff and highlight reels and little things to get me on the map. And, then you fast forward, I get into the Nike world and Dime Magazine, and I start creating content, and I get into my early 30s, and it's like, okay, I got to make a decision here, like stay on the court and hope you meet the right people to get you into that lane, because coaching in college was never an interest. It was always like, how do I figure out a lane to get to the league in some capacity on the personnel side? Or do you take your sports network and the work ethic, and Edgar, this, the work ethic and the stubbornness from ball and coaching and sports, and you apply it to building a new career as a content creator and evolve to a producer and a director. And that's ultimately what I did. And, Edgar, we're and Cal, I'm not sure how many years you've been in it here in New York, but Edgar, we're 10 years removed from World Basketball Festival.
Yeah, which
and
is crazy.
That's when I started to really form these thoughts. Like, I'm on this massive stage with all of these great people who have found their own lanes in the industry. But nobody knew at the time where this was all taking us. And I'll never forget, I'll tell this story real quick. I'm on the court with Kobe Bryant, like running the clinic of the summer at Rucker. And there's just hundreds of cameras around the court. And I luckily had a camera on the court documenting everything we had done in the Harlem community that summer with our programming and grassroots. And I just remember looking around being like, I cannot believe the attention this is getting. And the coverage of the game is now being taken to new heights because of technology and the demand for content and access. And I'll never forget the next day, like just my phone, I used to document everything. Remember, Edgar, I had the flip cam back in the day. I'd be walking around with the flip cam everywhere. But we weren't doing things like that yet on our phone. So I think this is like BlackBerry Messenger. Like, we were still messing with those. And I just keep having the same picture of me and Kobe sent to me from on the floor. It was all over the place. And I took a step back and I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. Like I can do this if this is where I want to go. And eventually made that decision the following year. Then I can figure out how to do this. And that was the beginnings of, where I'm at now with creating Pure Hoops. And, I'm blessed to be part of the Showtime basketball team and all the smoke and the KG film and all that. But it's all born from this journey through New York. So it's something I value greatly. So yeah,
Cal,
way to start me off with a softball, buddy. I might get emotional.
yeah, I just want to talk about, like, obviously you've been in this game for a little while, like the importance of when did you realize like content was really the thing?
Well, Edgar, to be honest with you, it was at the very, I would say about a year in. I wanted to take it from a hobby to something that that I love to do, and wanted to take it professionally, and to whatever extent that means. But when it was just a hobby, and I think the turning point was me actually sitting down with Kenny Anderson. Actually, Kenny gave me the opportunity to some good intimate in terms of intimate access, in terms of doing a full out interview, and so I'm in his hotel room, and I'm setting up cameras, and I'm with one of my guys who was helping me at the time set up cameras, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that at one point I was just kind of watching this guy on TV, and now he's sitting right in front of me, hearing me out and what I'm speaking about, and answering my questions. So, from that point of the Kenny Anderson interview, I think that was a huge turning point for me personally, to try to just go full steam ahead and crank out as much content as possible. And, also attending, getting the chance to kind of be around Baron Davis. I worked with his company, Slick, at the All-Star Weekend, and the Big Summit, which is one of the biggest events during the All-Star festivities. And I was just kind of soaking everything in, and he gave me a chance to kind of take pictures and to just kind of do my own thing. And it was then where I got a chance to see Adam Silver and Isaiah Thomas and guys like that up close, and really gave me a feeling of that I can be successful at this, and just to keep going, keep cranking out content, and first and foremost be a storyteller, because that's where we're going to in this digital age.
So to Eric,
hey, real quick, Cal, were you at All-Star this year in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we've definitely crossed paths then, because we see Baron all the time, because there's a great connection and relationship there with the Showtime crew and him and Jelani and
right,
and
Jelani
and all that. Yeah.
It was a real quick story on Baron. I actually met him at the Iverson Classic a couple years back, and at that time it was merely just a, hey Baron, how you doing? Do you mind if I snap a quick selfie? And he's like, yeah, no problem. We snapped a selfie. I spoke to him about his company, and he's like, yeah, DM me. I told him I'm a writer. So he's like, yeah, DM me, man. We can possibly do some work together. I DM'd him that same day, like maybe about 30 seconds after that. Waited weeks. I didn't get a response at all, right? And I'm like, man, I don't know what happened. Maybe he's just a celebrity, and he just doesn't have time. Whatever. Fast forward, I would say about a year and a half to 2 years. Summertime in Dykeman. I was doing my thing in terms of taking pictures, and in rolls Baron Davis with Chris Gotti, Irv Gotti's brother, and so I used to work with Irv and Chris back in maybe 02, 03. Probably the time when Edgar got started. You guys probably got started with your basketball journeys. I was working with Murder Inc. And when Baron and Chris walked in, I said to Chris, I said, Chris, do you know what slick is? And he was standing right next to Baron, and he was like, no, like, what's that? And I was like, hold on 1 second. And I shouted out to one of my guys in the stands. I said, yo, do you know what slick is? And he said, no, well, what the hell is that? No, I don't know. And so I looked at Baron. I said, Baron, nobody knows what the hell slick is, bro. Nobody, at least in at Dykeman right now. I could pretty much assume that nobody on the East Coast right now knows what slick is. He's like, yo, how you know about slick? I was like, yo, I do my homework, man. Like, I'm interested in writing for you guys. What's up? He's like, yo, DM me. I'm like, Baron, I DM'd you. I met you a year and a half ago, 2 years ago at the Iverson Classic. I DM'd you at 3 p.m., 3:46 p.m. I didn't get a response, Baron. What's up? He's like, yo, I'm sorry, man. I said, Baron, I'm right here, right now. What's up? Let's do it. If you're interested, I'm interested in writing for you guys. I write, I do videography, photography. I'm an editor. I do it all. And he's like, yo, man, I like your style. I kind of cornered him. I said, yo, we're right here, right now. No DMs needed. He's like, yo, all right, man, all right. Here, put your number in my phone. I put my number in his phone, and maybe about 15 minutes later, Jelani and those guys are actually, in a group. I'm in a group text with Jelani McCoy and Ray Young and Baron Davis, and I'm like, and he's like, yo, somebody get at Cal Griffin, man. He wants to work with us. And the rest was kind of history. I started writing for them, and actually they invited me over to the All-Star weekend because they were down one photographer and they needed one. So I say that to say, take your shot wherever you see fit. And I've never, since I've started this journey, it's been a total, like, I used to be a reserved, shy guy. I didn't want to approach anybody, but that's totally out the window. And I'm interrupting people while they're talking to their moms and whatever. I don't even care anymore. All punches are being thrown right now. So, that was a quick Baron Davis story for you guys.
That's awesome.
It's a great story. It's a great story.
He's been in the game for, like I said before, for a minute. And one of the things, he is founder of the Pure Hoops Media.
Right.
And tell me, I know you have a passion. I know, and just to let everyone know, he is a devoted Celtics fan through and through. And he would randomly text me every once in a while if the Celtics were in town when I worked for the Knicks. Hey, you got a ticket for today? Or the Celtics won, and be like, did you watch the game tonight? So, but
yeah, timely text.
Yeah. Why did you start Pure Hoops Media, and also how did you get involved with All the Smoke podcasts?
So first, Pure Hoops. And obviously, Edgar, my track record. So originally, I was the kid growing up who everyone thought was going to go from ball player and sports nut to broadcaster. And, I had no patience to go work in Des Moines, Iowa for my first broadcasting gig. And I was very unrealistic about advancing in the industry. I was a media intern at the Garden for a local news station, going to the Garden, going to Mets, Yankees, Jets, when I was, 20, 21 years old. And I have all these random sports facts in my brain that I can't get rid of. So, did the dream job thing, did broadcasting in the Ivy League for a year at Cornell. I went to Ithaca College, so it made sense to stay up there. But ultimately, that passion, I quickly put it aside because I started to coach and started to create a life for myself. But that never left me. So becoming a producer was awesome, but I also felt like I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, unique experience because of my journey through the game that Edgar alluded to earlier. So I always wanted to get back in front of a camera in a way, or get behind a microphone, and then, you know, learning through some difficult experiences of working for other people at larger outlets where, unless you're the star, you're almost taken for granted no matter what you do. So, you know, like I was at Bleacher for almost 2 years during the rise of Team Stream and led NBA there and did a ridiculous amount of work creating that content lane. And, you know, I learned a lot, but ultimately I was left disappointed, and it taught me a lot about what I want in the future. And, you know, I then had one more experience, like before my career really started to take off, late 2017 into 18, with producing and directing. I had another experience where I'm like, you know what, like I can't put myself in this position again. If I'm building something and creating something in this medium when it comes to basketball content, digital, you know, non filmmaking and feature storytelling, I got to be a central voice in this, an essential figure, and control what's going on. And that's kind of where my coaching persona comes in. So that experience is what drove me to align the pieces. And then, you know, this is sarcastic, but because ESPN laid off so many people in 2017 that were capable professionals who had been in the industry for a long time, I connected the dots with some people. And then my business partner, you know, I've a couple of partners in it. One's on the content side, one's on the business side. My business partner, Scott, he's a childhood friend of my brother's, and they grew up playing ball together. So I was a senior when they were freshmen, and I've known him since grade school. He's got a company that is growing in the industry, that creates podcasts, markets, sells against them, you know, creates properties. And we just said, there's a lane here to develop. Let's figure this out. We're going to slow play this and organically develop, and then hopefully grow something successful. So that's where that was born from. The commitment of the people that we work with, and hosts and people that are doing it to get their name out there, tell stories, build a brand, build with us without having that immediate tangible return, is something that I'm pleasantly surprised by. It's great. So we got 5 shows a week now. We're starting to finally get into some video. The challenge there, of course, is doing it the right way and balancing it with, you know, our schedules, and then pivoting to all the smoke. I started a relationship with Showtime Sports right around the time I was exiting Bleacher. So
let me stop you real quick. I got a quick question before the Pure Media. So you have 5 shows a week. What's your audience like, and how has it grown from when you started? And like how have you built an organic following?
Yeah, the audience is still a challenge. A lot depends on who our interview subjects are, and it's still a grind. And Edgar, you know this. Cal, I'm sure you've learned this. Like, until you can put paid media behind things in this space, you're going to be constantly fighting that uphill battle. So the biggest thing for us has been consistency of voices, and knowing that people in the industry have recognized we're doing a really good job, whether it's people that are on mainstream platforms, whether it's ESPN or elsewhere that come on our show, whether it's the people at the NBA who accommodate us at All-Star and are trying to connect the dots for us. So that to me has been like the measure of, okay, we're on the right track. We've got to land the right partner or right funding here to take the next step. And, you know, we were making really, really good progress with that before COVID hit. So moving ahead into the fall, we're hoping to move that ahead, but it's unclear at this point how that's going to go. But it's been fun. It's been consistent. It's been a grind, but at the same time, like, you know, I get to do a show every week with BJ Armstrong and talk NBA with a guy that had this great career and great life in basketball. And, you know, we've helped other people get their name out there and grow their brand and the stories they want to tell because they can do a show with us.
You also have the legendary Mike Weiss.
And the legendary Mike Wise, who is such a character and such a storyteller. And then, you know, working with an up-and-coming talent like Monica McNutt, who's so great to work with. And she just added a co-host to her show. And, you know, BJ and I dug in. We knocked out a bunch of videos next week that we're going to start releasing through this, you know, 8-game, you know, seeding schedule. And, you know, it's going well. But at the end of the day, you still have to prioritize. It's like, okay, I want to do this work. I want to build this. But
still got
thankfully, I've got the Showtime stuff to do. That's, you know, the roof above my head. They're they're the ones making that happen. And that work obviously has gotten some great attention and a lot of traffic. So
how did you get involved with All the Smoke?
So, you know, it's funny. Like I started doing stuff with Showtime, like on the side as like digital producing. So, you know, Cal, you mentioned the Iverson Classic. The first thing I did officially for Showtime was, you know, the digital extras for the Iverson doc, which just lived on social media and YouTube. Like I was sent like a bunch of stuff that didn't, maybe some of it got in the film and some of it was just extras. They're like, let us know what you can do with this. We're looking for some digital shorts. I'm like, oh, great. Oh, there's a ton here. This is terrific. So it started with that. And, you know, actually where it really started, the stuff never went to air because I don't know if you know that when they were doing the film with Kobe, the whole course of the filmmaking style changed halfway through. And Kobe wanted to do this straight to camera kind of confessional feel, and all the voices they had interviewed, Shaq, Jeannie Buss, Steve Nash, Derek Fisher, Kevin Durant, they all weren't in the film interview style, but I was given a whole bunch of footage to cut these extras. And I had like all these like magical, this Kobe footage from 2014, but you know, the tone of that changed. But I did the Iverson thing, and that turned into the Victor Cruz film, doing the same thing there with a little bit more meat than the Tony Gonzalez doc. And then Edgar, if you remember, PR and I did that On the Record podcast as a limited run and did some extras for some boxing stuff. So it just started to build, but where All the Smoke was first thought about, I pitched the DeMarcus Cousins film and brought Boogie and Showtime together, and we made that film. I'm interviewing Matt Barnes, and it was this great interview. And I called my guy at Showtime afterward. I said, "Hey, the vision that we're talking about to create something that's Showtime basketball and have these voices and be across digital and broadcast and social. Like Matt Barnes is a guy you want to talk to immediately." And he's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just interviewed him for the doc and beyond impressive." And you know, Brian Daly, who I've told you about over at Showtime, he picked up the phone, started talking to Matt, and the next thing you know, they've crafted this vision for what this could be. And Matt was doing all his appearance stuff for ESPN at the time. Stack was doing some ESPN and then moved over to Fox, and everybody kept telling them, "You guys need your own thing. You guys need your own thing." But nobody was willing to place a bet on them. And Brian's made some really bold moves at Showtime, including that Hurley docu-series, including bringing Quiet Storm over, which was a Bleacher production, and you know, believing in the Boogie project, and then this. And he just put his cards in the middle of the table, and we all aligned on the vision. And with that vision came the birth of Showtime Basketball, which is something we're really excited about building into 2021. So All the Smoke is the digital property. The KG film is the feature thing, and we're going to develop some digital stuff on that now that we're back in rhythm. And that's how it was born. But never, we knew it would be good, but the growth rate and how quickly it caught on, and then how quickly, like, it wasn't like we had to hit up all of these great guests. they were like, yo, how do I get on? How do I get on? I want to talk to you guys because you guys are doing it the way we've always wanted it done. So I think it was a great combination of timing, vision, people, but also like, listen, mainstream media has been great for sports and voices, but we all know there's also been a negative side. And they tell stories the way they want to. They present the headlines and the clickbait the way they want to. And that's never who we wanted to be. So it's all worked out pretty well in the first year.
So that's actually good for Cal because, you know, Cal has been doing his Instagram pretty much every day, at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much like, you know, you're from the streets. You know, you've built up a brand. How easy has it become for you to actually make a phone call to certain athletes and they're like, yeah, I'll jump on because they see how, you know, authentic you are?
I mean, yeah, that's where, you know, I pride myself in being, you know, 100% authentic at all times. And not only do I kind of embody the kind of the, you know, New York City street ball, that kind of gritty feel to it, but I do have, you know, I do come from that other side of, you know, studying stats and knowing percentages and, you know, how many wins this team has, below 500. And, you know, this is all like maybe pre-high school stuff that I, you know, kind of studying, just studying the game as a whole. And when I approach people, and they see that I not only, you know, have this knowledge of, you know, the street ball world, because that's where, you know, that's kind of where I took shape, so to speak, but I can, you know, also chop it up, you know, and speak about the more technical aspects of basketball, NBA players, and the more, you know, the numbers game. So, you know, people are impressed with that, and, you know, they want to be guests. And so, and a lot of times it's more so you getting one guest and it's snowballing from there. And so, you know, say for instance a Rod Strickland or somebody like that, people will see that and they'll want to be a part of that as well. So, you know, it's a gradual thing, but so far it's been working out. I mean, you know, I'm not out the woods by any means, but I like the direction that we're going in, and it's definitely a digital world now, especially post COVID. I don't know if that's even, we're not even post COVID yet, but, you know,
no, not even close.
Right, after the initial shock of the whole pandemic, everything, you know, is moving digital. So, you know, it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, so, and Edgar, real quick, I just want to share, like, if I don't have like the love of the game coaching background along with this,
right?
Like they say, like kids should learn languages at a young age because they adapt more and absorb it more. So I was absorbing every sports book in the library in elementary school and every NBA entertainment video on VHS and studying that history. And people literally thought I was crazy. And to be able to utilize that stuff that you were just in love with as a kid in your career and what you're doing. Like I utilize stuff when I write all the smoke from memory and knowledge of history and then double check everything. And the same for interviews. And, you know, we grew the show during quarantine because we just said, okay, we're doubling down here. We're going to have 2 taping days a week. We lined up all these guests who were just sitting at home. And at first I was like, okay, it's not going to be like the studio. It's not going to be as intimate. Let's make it a 20 to 30 minute show. And then Chris Paul jumps on the first one and it's 55 minutes and it's awesome and it's loosely scripted. And then depending on who the guest is how deep, you know, into my hard drive I was going. But it all equals you becoming a more capable storyteller, but somebody that athletes and ball players want to work with, because you know your stuff and you care, and you're not being slid a rundown by a producer that gathered it all and you're just going from it. Like, you know it, and you know how to drive conversation from it. So I just wanted to share that, because that's been huge for me. Like, guys sit down with me and they know, oh, he knows his shit. He's prepared. This is going to be a great conversation.
So I want to talk about, obviously you probably, you work at Showtime, but you don't deal with advertising and stuff like that. But with Pure Hoops Media, how difficult is it to talk to partners, sponsors to get involved?
For Pure Hoops?
Yeah. For Pure Hoops,
yeah.
From Pure Hoops, and then you can talk about also, like, obviously you don't have to deal with it as much with all the smoke, but
sure.
Pretty sure you're sometimes in conversations like, hey, we should target this sponsor, or maybe a sponsor that might be interested. So how difficult is that landscape?
I mean, it's the tale of two completely different situations. Pure Hoops, we have this incredible library of interviews and content that's audio first that we've been building since the beginning of 2019. But because we haven't reached the audience metrics yet that everybody looks at to get behind, those conversations are very, very challenging. So we're looking for, and currently in talks with, a partner that just believes in the vision of building a company and scaling. And then when we have the resources to scale and put dollars behind paid media, that's where we see the return. So that's the direction we're trying to take the company. And then as far as all the smoke, I mean, people are knocking at the door. We're just figuring out how we want to position things for what will hopefully be a fall return into 2021 growth. So the pause in the season, strangely enough, allowed us to take a pause, and then obviously Matt and Stack are dealing with much bigger issues on the ground than our show. So they've been doing that, and sponsors are being talked to, and things are happening on that front, and hopefully we can announce those things soon. So it's totally different. All the smoke, everybody's coming to us. Pure Hoops, I'm trying to figure out, like, how we get resources in the door and build from there. So very, very different. Lucky for me on the Showtime side, like, I can focus just on creative and talent. And then the beauty of my situation is, there's a team at Show Sports that handles all these different digital things across the board. So I just plug in with the team, and everybody knows, everybody's got their role. It's very similar to how you lay out your 8-man station. I have a social media point person. I have a overall planning coordinator who is excellent, but she also thinks like a producer. I have 2 producers over there who have different skill sets and do different things. And then, of course, at the top of it is who I mentioned before earlier, Brian. So it's great. It's great. And then, because Showtime is part of the CBS Viacom family, they now have CBS salespeople who are taking inbounds to talk about all the smoke. So it's really exciting. And, going back to what I was sharing about, like, the launch and the growth, like, we expected to be having these conversations, but like after a year, but people were knocking at the door, coming out of All-Star because they saw what we did in Chicago. So, needless to say, it's exciting, and it's hard work on both sides, but through different lenses,
So for Cal, obviously you're pretty much a one-man band.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out.
I remember that live, Cal. I remember that live. Edgar remembers me as a one-man band. Not very good to be around much of the time.
No, it's not, honestly, I'm a firm believer. If you have a team, you're gonna win. It's hard to succeed by yourself.
Right.
And you're a one-man band, and I know one of the things you have to figure out is how do you create income.
Right.
I know you had over the winter, which I thought was an amazing idea. You started printing out like street ball hoodies and like some legendary names. And one, how did that come about? Two, did that idea turn it, was it successful? And how do you figure out a way where I really need to generate money? And is it going to be through merch? Because obviously sometimes sponsorships are hard.
Right. So right now I'm pretty much I have my master's degree from YouTube University. So it's like, I'm plugging in, how do I grow this thing, and just kind of everything that I can possibly try to want to find out. I kind of go onto the internet and play with different things. But in terms of the street ball hoodies, again, I come from that time period where, Rucker Park was everything. Kingdom was everything, and Dykeman, Tri-State. Those that's pretty much what, because I couldn't go to the garden all the time and see, that the garden would probably be a once every year kind of thing. But in terms of street ball, you can see some of the same players right in front of you at these games. So I really grew a passion and a love through the street ball game. And so it was just something to pay homage to to my roots in terms of street ball, and just kind of, like you said, deciding on different things or just playing with different ways to generate an income, as well as the advertising and things of that nature. But in terms of merch, I know throughout my research, I know that merch is a big thing for small companies, just kind of trying to get their name out there, and it serves as a marketing tool as well. So I would say it was successful. We didn't sell a ton of products, a ton of shirts or what have you, but I think it was successful because I've gotten some great feedback from it, and just kind of take that feedback and kind of reinvest it into what I have going on. And I think that with that mentality, I will start to scale up, and kind of slowly but surely, it's been an upward trajectory, but it hasn't been as fast as I would love it to, like it to be. But as long as I have the engagement that from the people that enjoy what I'm doing, and they give me that positive feedback, then I'm in good shape. The followers and all of those sales and whatnot, they're gonna come as long as I keep keep putting the work in, and the work will show.
Yeah. So obviously, Eric, I got a couple more questions left, and the main thing Cal and Eric and myself, we both know, is consistency. And can we talk about the importance of consistency? Because I know I've been definitely a product of stopping my own growth because of things that might have happened, my focus or whatever. And I just want to let Eric chime in on the importance of consistency and keep pushing.
It's everything. Like, I'm flashing back to like so many moments where I know, damn, if I was consistent with this thing, what could have happened? Like, it's discipline, it's consistency, but it's also like, how do you balance everything? That's the biggest thing, because for so long, everybody's got a different journey, right? But for so long, I had to be doing X, Y, and Z to pay the bills so I could then do the things that I was extremely passionate about. So even when I was trying to get my own basketball content out there and do things, it was all in coordination with making sure, handling what needs to be handled first. But, you know, this COVID situation, and I don't know how you guys view like your own selves when chaos hits. How do you utilize your best tools and attributes to get you through? Like the discipline of ball and the discipline of building this craft is huge for, you know, getting me through the first 3 months of this thing when, you know, girlfriend and I living in the apartment, like would barely leave and focus on our work and staying healthy and being really smart. And that comes from discipline and consistency. So when it comes to, you know, building the career, especially when everything is so tied to social media and digital, and whether it's Instagram or YouTube and all that, like we know from all the formulas, all the reading and seeing who's been able to build followings and a platform and an audience, that's what it's all about. And that's why we continue to build Pure Hoops even through the uphill climb of landing funding and sponsorship and all that. It's consistency. It's putting out 5 different shows every week with these hosts. It's having the team. It's doing that, but it's huge. It's everything, regardless of what you're doing, regardless if you're right out of college and you're trying to find your voice in this lane, regardless if you're experienced like us and you want to start a new thing. Consistency is everything, man. It's everything. And it was everything with the All the Smoke build. We could have done half as many shows during quarantine and still deemed it successful. But how do we grow? Well, we knocked out 20 plus episodes with people at home, and we were really disciplined, and we put out just a great run of guests and content. So yeah, man, it's everything.
Yeah, this is why I decided. I was like, you know, obviously you guys both know I'm a behind the scenes type of dude, but I've always been having some pressure, not pressure, but people telling me like, yo, you need to be more upfront and just let people know what you're doing. And
Yep.
you know, I think it's key, and obviously relationships is everything. And, you know, knowing both of you guys and how hard you guys work is a privilege for me to know both of you guys. And I just want to know, like, as far as like the future, what do you think the future holds for you guys? And then we'll just talk about quickly about, you know, what do you think about my Knicks hiring Tom Thibodeau? But, and then after that we'll sign off.
Well, I mean, in terms of like I've applied for credentials before and have gotten rejected, you know, and I mean rejection's part of the deal. You know, as you guys may know, it's not just going to be, you know, just kind of smiling faces and acceptance everywhere you go. So I mean, with saying that, you know, I've even been told, hey, we only cater to the big boys, you know, the ESPNs of the world, the Bleacher Reports of the world, and you know, and that's fine. That's fine. It just motivates me to try my best to get to that point where people will, you know, respect me on the same plateau as the big boys, or label me as one of the big boys in terms of getting acceptance to, you know, different events and things of that nature. So, I mean, I would see in the next 5 years or so, just kind of again, just kind of continuing the upward trajectory and building out this team that's going to take me, you know, to the next level. So right now I'm in the process of trying to build out this team, and you know, and or get to a platform or, you know, a company where I can kind of utilize my skills, and you know, like Pure Hoops Media, I'm sure is Eric's baby. You know, but in the same breath, he has to pay the bills and you know, put a roof over his head. So that's where those other companies or you know come into play. But yeah, I see greatness, man. I see, basketball is something that I'm truly passionate about, and so it doesn't feel like work until until it's really work. It's real work to do. So, and I'm ready, willing, and able to do whatever it takes to get this thing off the ground. So, I'm always gonna feel like even with 20 million followers or whatever, hypothetically speaking, I'm still gonna feel like there's a lot of work to be done. So I think if I keep that mentality and just regardless of all of the kudos and acknowledgement, if I keep myself grounded and just say, hey, there's more work to be done, I think I'll be in a good place.
Eric?
Well, first off, like, as soon as we get off of this this segment here, we got to talk all things hoops and Pure Hoops collab. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we'll send Edgar a ring light or something. But, I needed this today. I needed my old school guy in the neighborhood. But yeah, it took me a long time to figure out. Cal, you're dealing with this now. The one-man band. It's like, what lane am I going to emerge into
right
from the one-man band, right? So I would shoot everything, edit everything, produce, write it. Like who knew what documentary producing and directing really meant when I started this journey? Because everybody's got a different definition for what a producer is. There are some producers in the industry, you put them in front of an edit bay and they don't, it's like a foreign language to them. They don't know what to do. Then you have other producers in the industry who can sit down and cut a piece because they know the story, it's in their head, they know it's been shot, and they have those skills. So it was really interesting, but I always, because of my love of film and the game and storytelling within the game, I always was like, how do I get good enough at all of this where I can advance myself and become a producer director? So that's finally where I've arrived to this year. So now it's all about, okay, can I be a story architect? Can I be a co-EP and develop things with the right partners and the right outlets? And obviously having the Showtime relationship and the role there, and co-directing and producing this KG project, like it's all arrived at this point. So that's the formula. That's the future. Co-EP, co-develop. I'm in love with films because, it comes from my upbringing. My dad has a film collection in the house. So I was watching like all kinds of crazy old school stuff when I was way too young to be watching it, and going to the theater at a way too young of an age to see certain films. So being able to combine ball and film, and docs have grown in such an incredible way since I started to think about getting in this space. So I used to beat myself up. I'm like, I didn't get in early enough. Like, I missed the beginning of 30 for 30. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, the guys that were making the first 30 for 30s have been in the industry for 20 plus years, and nothing like that was ever around. And then I'm like, this is a blessing. I'm in wave 2. I get to figure out like what's next and how do we make films more different and more dynamic and utilize more platforms. And I've arrived at a really great spot where I know the lane that I'm in and that I'm good at, but I also know the lane that I want to be going to, whether it's the scripted side or the unscripted side. And both for me is the goal moving forward.
Yeah, I appreciate both of you guys for coming on. We'll wind it down. So obviously, one of the things I definitely want to talk to Cal, and we'll talk to E, but I definitely was thinking all things hoops on powered by Hard to Guard on Hard to Guard TV. We got to figure that out.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
And then me and E, we've been talking about this documentary for a long time, so we got to figure that out also. So I just real quick about talk about the NBA bubble, both of you guys, and the hiring of Tom Thibodeau, and where do you see the Knicks going in the next couple of years, and then we're gonna sign off.
I'm gonna let Eric do the honors.
Tibbs or the bubble?
Bubble. Let's go bubble. I'll let you do the
the bubble. Well, don't forget, Tibbs actually has a ring with my team. Okay,
yes,
my team.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, he was with Van Gundy first with the Knicks, but
me personally, I'm a Tibbs fan. Real quick, I remember 1998. I'm in Boston with the Knicks when I worked with the Knicks, and I remember hanging out. As one of my favorite moments, actually, and me and Tibbs and Coach Brendan Malone, we went to Tibbs' old neighborhood because he lived in Connecticut. Actually, he lived in Massachusetts. Sorry, and he took us to an old neighborhood where he lived at, and gave us a story about how he fell in love with basketball, and we wound up like going to dinner, and it was like my first interaction with like him, like on a one-on-one basis, and then it made me realize, one, how much he loved the game, and how much of a good person he is, and a lot of people, people don't really know him. And the guy, like, off the camera, behind the scenes, funny guy, loves the game. And I think he's perfect for New York. And I think he's going to do really, really well. And, that's, every time, when he left the Knicks and, Chicago would come into town, we would like chop it up at practice and joke around. And I was his guy, I remember like, when I first started in 95 with the Knicks, I was his personal rebounder. Like, he was like, where's that girl? Where's that girl? I need him to rebound. And, and then like, it'll be when LJ came, me, him and LJ rebound like for hours. We would just, and then after that, we would just chop it up. So I think, I'm happy he's here, and I think he's going to do well.
That's great. So it sounds like you might be returning to the Garden pretty soon. So Cal and I will both be hitting you up for those press passes.
Hey, man. I didn't want to.
I can still hear Tibbs's voice coming from that Celtics bench, communicating to KG and the defense. And, real quick, we shot this beautiful scene with Doc and KG about 6 weeks ago in LA. And we created a mini little ode to the Boston Garden and in his space. So I interviewed Doc in the space, and KG comes in mic'd up but hadn't seen it yet. So he walks into the site of his coach and feeling like he's back in the Garden. And he was just like overwhelmed. And then they immediately just start talking about like Doc's pick and roll coverage. And KG can't sit still. He's animated everywhere. And then immediately there's Thibodeau references and their time together. And, I'm going out of order here, but Tibbs is a great hire for the Knicks. But there's two key things that have to happen. One, they have to be patient. They have to give him at least 3 years. And I know the contract is for 5, but we know the coaching life in the NBA. And then they've got to bring in, they have some good potential building blocks here, but they got to bring in a lot more talent to develop. And whether it's guys who are coming through the draft or it's young talent who is out there in the league, but who aren't being given the opportunity to play like right now. Like Kelly Oubre, and how he left Washington and will now most definitely flourish in Phoenix. Like, who's the Oubre for the Knicks? Who's out there in a situation? Terry Rozier potentially doing that with the Hornets. Who's the guy that is ready to blossom but needs a new setting and can do it with Tibbs in New York? So I think that's huge. And it sounds like they finally have the right people in the front office to identify that talent and work with Thibodeau. So for me, that's the big thing. I would have liked to have seen Mark Jackson get a shot, but clearly that's not happening yet. Maybe it's in Brooklyn, who knows? But the bubble. I'm much more serious. It's funny what I'm going to say. You're going to laugh, but if the NBA was running our country right now, things would be looking a lot better, man.
Yep.
And it says a lot about the leadership in the league and who they are, and like how the teamwork of ball can make society a better place. Like, they've done an unbelievable job. Like, no one gets in. If guys are going out, aside from the Lou Williams situation, like, they're taking care of what they have to take care of. They're coming back in and they're quarantining and they're being tested, and it's working. And as far as what it looks like on the court, I know some people are saying, oh, this looks like AAU ball. Oh, there's no fans. Yo, like, I was juiced watching the Laker Clipper game last night.
Yeah.
Like, what they created, and because of, like, it doesn't work unless this venue exists, right? Like, I can't watch baseball. Like, I stopped watching baseball consistently, like, 12, 13 years ago, but I put it on last week to just look at it. And, like, Dodger Stadium's got the cutouts behind home plate, but as soon as you cut to another camera, like, it's empty. But that's because baseball stadiums are monstrous and few and far between, because this basketball venue existed despite the large outbreak in Florida. They were able to shut it down, keep it safe, and the way they're broadcasting the games and bringing it to the fans, it's awesome. Like, I don't know what you could improve aside from us, hearing the trash talking, but, kids have to watch this. And BJ and I talked about it on our most recent podcast that just came out. BJ's like, the court and what's said down there, that's for the venue. Some of those things should not be broadcast on TV. So I think it's great. And the NBA, again, being a leader in the space, and the slogans and the statements being worn on the jerseys are fantastic. I thought the pregame execution of the moment during the national anthem was really spot on and well done. And, I love these, we're not going to get into politics right now, but unless Edgar wants to, but these right wing.
We wrapping up.
Well,
everyone knows how I feel. You follow my Twitter, you know how I feel.
We both know how each other feel, and I'm sure Cal is very much in the same ballpark. But these right-wing clowns on Twitter who say, I'm not watching the NBA ever again. Well, like, okay, like, were you really watching in the first place? Like, did you really care in the first place? I think what the NBA is doing is awesome, and never before have we seen so many voices, forget conversations, they're now elevated to taking action, and the league supporting them is incredible. And this needs to keep building and building. And the way they're handling the bubble is huge in parallel with that. So I'll leave it there.
So Cal, and Eric,
pretty. I want to say ditto, but in terms of how the NBA has handled this whole situation, both the COVID-19 and the social situations with the race, the police brutality,
arrest.
Right. I really like the messages that they've been sending in terms of being able to put somebody's name or what have you, or represent that on the jersey. In terms of the bubble, it's been like a fortress almost, and it's like Eric said, if we had these people running the country, we'd probably be better off. But they've done a terrific job doing putting everything together, and the final product, pumping that out to the fans, it was a class act. In terms of Thibodeau, it was a great move for the Knicks to bring him on board. Tibbs is a defensive minded coach, and so I think that New York has always been a basketball team kind of who is kind of prides himself in defense, and so I think that he's going to bring a philosophy that is kind of spot on with what the New York Knicks kind of the New York Knicks need, and if he gets the players, some he works in some trades, and maybe grab some free agents up. I think that he can bring it to a respectable level. I'm not a Knicks fan personally. I'm an OKC fan. But yeah, I used to actually like Sean Kemp and Gary Payton back in the days. And once they moved from Seattle, I took a hiatus. But and I was just kind of liking players, individually. But I said, hey, I gotta fall for, I gotta stand for something or fall for anything here. So let me rejoin my OKC, my Seattle roots. But I live in New York. I'm born and raised in New York. I do hold and even when I go to to a different state, people are trash talking me about the Knicks, and so I can't there's but so much I could take. So I do want to see them be at a respectable level, and I think that they are on their way almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if Tibbs can bring back that 90s, the league is different now, right? Like you can't play like X-Man and Mace, but like you can have that identity.
They just gotta win. They gotta win.
And the guys can see if he sits them down and talks about what it was like. And I know his run with them was more at the back end of the 90s, but if he can talk about what it was like and show them the game film and show them the Garden and that connection, like. I talk trash to Knicks fans all the time, partly because they tortured me as a kid growing up. I grew up 20 miles outside the city as a Celtics fan. But it's more fun. It's just fun. But the NBA is better when the Knicks are better. New York City is better when the Knicks are better.
Facts.
And if there was ever a time where New York needed the Knicks to be relevant and representative of who New Yorkers are, not what New York has turned into, but what New Yorkers are, I mean, we're well overdue. And Thibodeau can be the guy to do that. They just got to give him the right pieces.
So last thing, guys, thanks a lot for coming on. Cal, where can people reach you at, follow you?
With Instagram being my primary kind of social media platform, you can follow me at @allthings_hoops. Twitter is just all things hoops. And of course, you can always visit the website at www.allthingshoops.com.
And Eric?
So Instagram is where I put most of my content. That's @enewfilms, E short for Eric, NEWFILMS. And then Twitter, I still have my snarky coaching persona. So that's Coach ENew at twitter.com. PureHoopsMedia.com for all of our content, and @PureHoopsMedia for us putting our stuff out on social, and then Showtime Basketball on YouTube for everything we're doing there with the show and the film, and should have some exciting stuff there post Labor Day coming out. But this was great, man. Great to be on with you guys.
Come on, and I'm gonna definitely put all of us on a group text after we're done. Thanks for spending an hour and 15 minutes with me.
For you, I would have done an hour and a half.
I was ready to go too, Eric.
All right, guys. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Al. Great to talk to you, man.
Likewise. I'll be in touch. I'll be in touch soon, man.
For sure. Take care.
All right.